Our goal today is to write our first Java program, the classic Hello World program, which basically prints out the words Hello World. Now, it may not seem like a big deal to do a program that prints out two words. However, to get to the point where you can do that, meaning you have an actual program that can run, it can compile, you have no syntax errors, you have a correctly installed development environment and Java compiler that can run it. If you get to the point where that can all work, it's fairly significant. We're going to be looking at also the format of code and the style guide. We're using the one provided by Google. Most of the things in there are pretty much industry standard whether you use Google or not. However, Google has them nicely in a single file, and we're going to be going along with their style guide. It's a good idea to take a look at this style guide file fairly frequently, because what has meaning to you now may be a very small part of it, whereas every day that we look at it, or every week if we take a look at it, more and more things will make sense. Today we're mostly focusing on a statement. We're focusing on indentation, placement of braces, and also comments. Now here's the simple Hello World program that we just talked about. The program starts out with a slash star, a couple stars, and a star slash. This is called a comment. You can write anything you want in comments. They're ignored by the compiler. They aren't run. Comments are really put in so that it makes the code more readable, and it sometimes helps people understand the purpose of the code, or maybe something that you've done in the code that isn't very obvious. You can explain it up in the comments. This comment starts with a slash star. It can be multiple lines, and it ends with a star slash. So anything between the slash star and the closing star slash is ignored by the computer. There's another form for comment, which is commonly used when there's a one-line comment. You just put two slashes. Those are the ones you'll see more often. Now, every Java program is made up of a class. The class name is written in what's called camel case, or this is actually upper camel case, meaning the beginning of every word is uppercase. It's concatenated, no dots, no blanks in there, and the next word begins with an uppercase. And that class name should match the file name. This Java class is in a file called helloworld.java, H uppercase, W uppercase. That's required. Every Java program should also have a main. This is called a method. A method is basically a set of instructions that are run. They're together and they're run together. Every Java program will start its execution at the main and will end its execution at the last line in main. So this Java program, you can see the comment says all it does is print out to the console. It says system.out.println hello world. All it's going to do when we run it is print hello world to the console. You can see I've already run it once, and you can see down here that it printed it out. So this statement here just says print out to the console, and this ln means I want you to do what's called a carriage return or a new line. Go to the next line after you've done that. So we're going to try to run that right now. Okay, and you can see on the bottom it printed out hello world. If I want my program to say a little bit more, I can add a print line that says, how are you? As long as I have something enclosed in double quotes, it'll print out literally whatever I put in there. So let's try to run that. Okay, and you can see on the bottom, it printed out hello world. It did the new line because of this ln, and it printed out how are you? Now I've made a change so that I want to print out a longer string, but I want it to all appear on one line, and I don't want to have it all in one statement because it starts to get too long. I like them to be looking shorter when I'm actually reading my code. So what I did this time was I just did system.out.print, no ln. That means it'll print out how is the weather, and it won't give the new line, meaning it won't go to the next line and print the next one. So it should print out how is the weather. Fine, I hope. It should print that all on one line. So let's see what happens. Oh, also, you might notice that there's something missing here. Every statement in Java should end with a semicolon. You notice there's no semicolon right here. I did that purposely because I want to see what's going to happen. A lot of times I won't do it purposely, and you'll see as well when you start coding, that's what's called a syntax error. You may not purposely leave out a semicolon, or you may not purposely leave out a blank, but the compiler will pick it up right away. And we're going to get used to knowing what those things mean when we see these strange messages come up on the screen. So I'm going to try to run it, and we should get a syntax error. Yeah, it's telling us, oh, errors exist. Well, I'm just going to try anyway because I don't think there's any errors in my code. And so you can see what happened. Exception in main, it tells unresolved compilation problem. It's complaining. A lot of times it can tell you what's wrong. This time it found, oh, there's a missing semicolon. It thinks there should be one there. It says line 11, which is right there. So let's put in the semicolon, and I'm going to run it again. And this time it worked as I expected. Notice it didn't put a blank between the question mark and the capital F because I didn't tell it to. I have no blank here. I have no blank here. So it did exactly what I wanted. So now what if I wanted to put something in quotes and get it printed out? Because remember, everything between quotes here is what's printed out. But what if I wanted to actually print out something that has quotes? Now that's something called an escape sequence. You can do that to print out a backslash. You can do that to print out quotes. You can do that to print out a tab, or a /n symbol is actually a new line symbol. So I can put in a new line rather than doing this ln. If I put a /n in here, it would force a new line. Let's try that first and see what happens. Okay, now I'm going to run it again. See, this time it put it on the next line. Now this time I want to print something out that has quotes around it. For example, I want the word fine to have quotes around it in my actual printout. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to what's called escape the quote, or / quote. So that's not interpreted as the quote for the string that I want to print out. That's interpreted literally as a quote that I want to include in the output. So I'm going to put the word fine in quotes by backslashing or escaping both of them, which is what I just did. So this should print out the same exact thing I have, but the word fine should be in quotes. So let's try that now. Okay, so you see down here, fine got enclosed in quotes. Again, that's called an escape sequence, and that's how you get around the translation of something like a /n, which means a new line, or a quote, which means take whatever in that string and print it out. And that's how you get around the computer interpreting that as something other than what you want it to. You want it to be taken literally as a quote, you escape it. The only other interesting thing about the Hello World program, as I said, it's very small, but it has a lot of interesting things in it, and it's fairly significant if you actually got it to run. Everything is enclosed in these braces. The outer class, or the main class, well, I should say the outer class, the entire class, has braces around it. You notice this brace is up here right next to, or it's on the same line that the class is defined. This one pairs up with the bottom brace, the very last brace. They always have to match up. Sometimes you may see people putting the opening brace here, but we're using the Google format like we just talked about. So they put them up here, and that's what a lot of people do. Even C programmers from the old days, 20 and 30 years ago, that's what they did. So we're going to stick with that. You notice this open brace has to be here again. This is a class 2. It's the main class. This one pairs up with this brace. If they don't match up, the compiler will complain, and you'll know right away. Just like we saw when we were missing the semicolon, we knew right away there was a problem. So this is basically, like I said, the simplest program you could run, but to get there, it's kind of a big deal. So you're going to play around with some of this now.